Good morning, and welcome to the Dr. Kennedy Podcast. The Dr. Kennedy Podcast is sponsored by the Daniels Foundation for Impact Investments and Development. That's the Daniels Foundation for Impact Investments and Development. And so, good morning, folks, and hope you guys caught the Joel Foster interview. And today we're going to follow up with the Lenny Clark interview. And real excited to talk to Lenny. Lenny and I go all the way back to probably some of my earliest days in eastorange in terms of Edgar Street and the fantastic neighborhood that came out of Edgar Street. You had Edgar Street, you had Whittier Street, you had Clifford Street, you had Princeton Street, Halstead, bordered by Sanford and Halstead. And Lenny and I grew up on this fabulous neighborhood with the Marshalls and, Stuart Waters and Glenn Colston and Nate Bailey. And really look to talk to Lenny because we have a solid, upbringing together. And Lenny went on to become a great quarterback for East Orange High School. So he's got some East Orange High School football stories. He then went on to William Patterson, had a fantastic career at William Patterson and graduated from William Patterson. And then he went into UPS and did some things with supply side management and diversity management in terms of supply side. So he knows a lot about entrepreneurship, how you get involved with corporations delivering goods and services, essentially affirmative action programs, how you apply for grants, how you become a business successful. Then he's probably created a couple millionaires. So that should be a topic of great interest to a lot of you out there in business world of how you get involved with corporations such as UPS or some of these large corporations that have supplier diversity programs. And Lenny is one of the experts in that area. And he's also on one of the bar associations associated with supply diversity management. So folks, sit back for a great interview today. And later on, we'll be on the other side with Lenny Clark. Thank you very much. Again, good afternoon, folks, and welcome to the Dr. Kennedy Podcast. And we're on the other side with Lenny Clark. Len, how you doing?
Oh, man, I'm doing great today, Kenny. How you doing, my man?
Doing wonderful, man. I'm sitting here in sunny Florida, not too far from you, and blessed in life and blessed to be talking with I was telling folks you're a brother that goes all the way back to Edgar Street, so we got a lot of roots together. And so what's been going on? Tell the folks what you've been up to lately. What's going on?
Well, actually, I'm pretty much semi-retired, I would say. Still do some consulting work in supplier diversity arena, which I've been that's been pretty much in that space for over 23 years, and so that's pretty much what. But for the most part, I've been just kind of taking it easy when the weather's right. Try to get out there and play some golf, and just enjoy family, man.
Well, that's great. So we're gonna have to we hit on that. You mentioned supply chain management. So appreciate you taking the time. First, thanks for agreeing to do the interview. Just trying to promote keep it real simple, promote some positive Black images for Black youth. So if they're doing some classes in high school, they can pull up some faces of people that look like them. You might be a Black kid in the only white community. They could
there you go.
Things, and they could talk about some issues, talk about education, talk about business as you can do. So let's start by, talking about some of your, I kind of introduced, now did some, your background. You went to William Patterson. So talk a little bit about your formal education, some of your initial job experiences and, how did that kind of prepare you for your career?
Well, I'm going to say this. I'm going to just start with, I'll just go back to high school. I think East Orange High School prepared us tremendously to be successful. And I think that we had, people to look up to, the teachers and the leadership within the school. I look back at it and it was phenomenal. And they didn't want us to fail, so I think that in itself set a precedent for moving forward, and moving on to college and so forth, and being able to be prepared for college. And then also college preparing you for to be, once, getting out of college and moving forward out into the workforce. My first major job that I had, I worked for a company called Pure Later Courier, which was another transportation company. You know, I went in there as a young 24-year-old man, and basically got an opportunity to go into management at a very early age.
Okay.
And so worked my way up through that organization, but then they were bought out. Probably I was there for 7 years. And they were bought out by Emery Worldwide. That's another old transportation company. Yeah. And then basically I was like, okay, it's time for me to move on to something bigger and better. And it's crazy because I had two friends that worked at UPS at the time. And, you know, Joel Foster worked at UPS. And,
that's right. So I get the connection now. Okay.
Yeah. So, and then another friend of mine, whose name was Dwayne Dinkins, he worked there too. So, you know, they had always been telling me, you know, while I was at Purelator, look, man, you need to come to a real company, you know. So, so finally, I got the opportunity, man, and, you know, started my career at UPS and had to start it. I mean, even though I had management experience and everything, I had to start at the bottom. I started as a driver. And, you know, one of the great things, I drove in East Orange too. That was the other side of it.
Wow. So everybody knew you. You knew everybody.
Right. So, you know, I'm delivering packages to people's houses in there, you know, like, wow, you know, you know, that's Lenny Clark. Wow. You know, so, but I always, you know, I always had this drive that I wanted to, you know, to do more, you know, so my career, you know, did the driving thing, got out, did that only for 6 months, and then just kind of really, went into management, you know, became a supervisor of the drivers, did that for a year. But then my career really kicked off. I went into sales. In my first 7 years at UPS, I was in sales and worked my way up to become the district sales manager, which was over all of northern Jersey.
Wow.
And but then I've always had this, I don't know, Kenny, I always felt, and I guess this comes from, you know, living, you know, growing up in East Orange, I always had this connection that I wanted to give back to the community and so forth. And so I started, and when I became the district sales manager, I started getting engaged with, you know, the Essex County Urban League. And basically had set up, you know, a mentoring program with UPS and the Essex County Urban League with the middle school in Newark. And basically we had like 12 kids and I recruited, you know, other UPS folks to be their mentors. And we would bring them to the facility twice a week, give them like a dinner, like a little light dinner, but also help them with their homework and, you know, and just have conversation with them and just help them out. And so from me doing that, my career, I became the Northeast Region Community Relations Manager for UPS, which and I developed the relationships with all the urban leagues within the Northeast, NAACP, La Raza, all of the Infinity organizations, and basically developed those relationships and pretty much made sure that all the UPS facilities within the Northeast was connected to the community through those organizations. And then that's how the supplier diversity thing rolled into play, because, you know, on the community relations side, you know, you're kind of giving money or donating, you know, or giving grants to those organizations, basically for educational purposes, job opportunity, job training, and things of that nature. But when UPS said, okay, we want to look at this whole supplier diversity industry and how can we benefit or how can we help the community in doing that? I looked at that and said, okay, this is the vehicle, because this is helping, you know, from my perspective, I'm African American, so I'm looking at African American businesses, you know, first and foremost, but everyone else is included in that. All other minority companies are included in that too. But I looked at how can we do that? So I was given the opportunity to become the director of supplier diversity for UPS nationally. And that gave me the opportunity to go out throughout the country and find minority and women-owned businesses to help support UPS's supply chain needs and procurement needs. Mm-hmm. And so, and I would say that was probably, one of the, I felt, joy in doing that, because also we had some great successes in doing and partnering with some minority companies and giving them opportunities to be able to supply UPS with, goods and services, and also with them being able to provide job opportunities for those communities that they worked in. Right. And one of the, being here in Atlanta, also too, with this being, the Black Mecca, basically. You had a lot of progressive Black-owned businesses here that we were able to connect with and bring them in and give them opportunity to serve. And I would say I probably made a lot of millionaires.
You said that in your introduction, that Lenny Clark's probably made more millionaires than a lot of folks. You're a good man to know.
And you know what? And it was, Kenny, I would say it was a great feeling to be able to do that. Because, and it wasn't easy. I'm not going to say it was easy, because, you had to change behavior within, UPS was a Fortune 10 company, man. So you had to be able to, I guess my selling skills came into effect then, to sell them on, look, this is a business imperative, and this is something that we need to do as an organization, because our customers are people that look like me.
Right.
And so we need to be able to get that message across. And one of the things and a lot of people probably had that, during that time, we started this in the early 2000s. 2000 basically. 98 to 2000 was the kick, really, but we really jump-started it in 2000. And a lot of people didn't know that, UPS at the time had an African-American COO. So, and that comes from, basically to be able to be successful in that, it has to be driven from the top, right. And driven from the top down. So we were able to, get that support from the executive committee to be able to be successful and get the means in the budget and everything else to be able to be successful in doing what we did.
Wow, that's a fantastic story. One of the the benefits I get from doing is that I know you personally, but when I hear how successful my brothers have been business-wise and how sharp you guys are, it's really mind-blowing. You guys have really done some great things. So I compliment you on the skill to do that. Because as you said, it's not just something that you just haphazardly go out there. You got to commit management, and so you commit management convincingly to supply the budget, the personnel, and make it a critical component of the business, the mission of UPS to be that. And like you said, it comes from top down. And where I'm going with this, that it's going to be interesting when we finally get around to this Black Lives Matters question.
Okay.
I want you to think about that, because to me, that's the next forefront of the movement, is how do we critically connect the community to corporate America to convincingly commit resources. And supplier diversity is clearly one vehicle. It's not the only vehicle, but when think about that, how do we? It's like you said, it's about engagement. It's about engagement. There's two sides of the puzzle. There's civic engagement, but then on the other side, even though you have the civic engagement where you're giving things away, the Black community has to also step up and increase their workforce development side to be able to supply at a world quality level, And so I want to get your input. But let me before we get there, let's get a bit back into your some of your background, because one I think it's interesting for young brothers looking at this is that we all come from different places. So can you discuss your family structure? and what influence that had on you. And, we kind of mentioned, as we were talking earlier about, you had a little bit of, South to North connection in your family.
Yeah, well, I have a very interesting story, man. Basically, my family structure was pretty much from my mom's side of my family, which was the Clark side.
Yeah.
My dad, I didn't, this is interesting. I know you didn't know this. I had a stepfather, but my real dad, I didn't meet until I was 38 years old.
Really? I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. And the interesting dynamic in that, Kenny, is that my real dad was a senior vice president for UPS.
Oh, you gotta be shitting me.
I'm not. No,
Wow.
I'm not. Yes.
That's interesting.
And he's from East Orange.
Uh-huh.
So my mother and father both went to East Orange High School.
Wow.
So my family, but I got a lot from my family. I had a lot of support from my family. And especially I have to give my uncle, my mother's brother, a lot, and then my mother's sister's husband also a lot of credit in that, because they were very supportive of me in anything I wanted to do, and then also exposing me to some things that, that I needed to be exposed to. To help me along and I guess, both of my uncles, their work ethic was, that's what I got from them. Because one of my uncles, he had his own business. Both of them had their own businesses, right. But my aunt, her husband, he worked at Ford at night. Gotcha. So he had his own business during the day, and he worked at Ford at night. And I used to go to work I used to go help him, because he used to wax floors and, and go up to West Orange and Livingston and I always, his work ethic was so, and he would be like, okay, we going into these people's house. Don't be messing up there. Right. But it was like, it was that drive that I saw, that drive that he had to be successful in what he was doing, and how he did it. And that always kind of drove me to, I wanted more.
Right.
I wanted more for myself, and basically I was determined that I was going to be successful in something. I didn't know if, we all kind of, you can say, okay, you go to school and you come out and you have this vision of what you think you're going to be.
Right.
But you end up doing something totally different. But it ends up being, I would say, that niche job that fits you. And that's what, my career, I would say, pretty much has done for me. But I would say my family played a major role in that. And it was close. We were small, but it was close knit.
Right. So let me kind of piggyback on that. So, we lived on Edgar Street together, and so we kind of familiar. So what was your connection with the Marshalls, with Larry and Buzzy Marshall? And so fill me in.
So they're my cousins. Their grandmother was a Clark.
Okay.
Okay. And so, they were my, their father and my mother were first cousins.
Okay.
So that's how my connection with them were, and, they were my older cousins. So, they always looked out for me. Right. They just always kind of, that's our little cousin Lenny. Even though I'm bigger than them,
right.
but that was, they were. The relationship, to this day is still strong.
Oh yeah.
I owe them a lot. I owe my other, my cousin Cheryl and Debbie Carr. They they were definitely my peer group. We were all the same age, so pretty much Cheryl was 2 years older. But we were just, again, we were a tight-knit family. And we just used to always have get-togethers and cookouts, and
Yeah, I
You
know.
know, one thing I could say, my family was always entertaining.
Okay. We all can say that. We all have.
Right. You know, so I mean, and that boy, you know, also too, because my family was from East Orange, everybody knew my family. The people that were from East Orange, you know, a lot of the historic families from East Orange knew my family. So, you know, I kind of, you know, knew, you know, hear the stories and sitting, you know, about, you know, how East Orange was back in the day, and, you know, and before, you know, our time, and so forth and so forth. So you hear those stories, and so you gain that pride within, you know, from this, you know, about the city, and that's, you know, was a major component for me growing up, man.
Yeah. I remember Larry and Buzzy being great guys. They were great role models. You know, we had great role models at a young age.
Absolutely,
they
man.
were fine young men. They were disciplined. They dressed well. You know, there's not a lot of foul language. You know.
No. They, you know, I mean, and you know, to me, they, you know, to this day, I mean, they were hilarious to me too. I mean, so,
yeah, they were funny too.
I mean,
and they were fun guys too. They were squares, you know.
Right. You know, they just always
guys,
kept it,
you
know, they always kept it real with me, and you know, and also just kind of, you know, like I said, they really looked out for me, and like whatever I needed, or if I needed some, or if I, you know, just to talk to them.
Right.
I mean, you know, because back then, man, you couldn't really, you know, you couldn't. Your kids didn't talk to you like we, you know, like today. Our parents would talk to us like, you know,
right. Yeah.
you know, it was, so you had to have somebody, you know, that you can bounce some things off of, and, you know, navigating your way as being a young person and becoming a teenager and all of that stuff, to have to be able to talk to somebody that's going to, you know, say, okay, now, you know, be careful, and, you know, don't do that, you know.
Right.
So,
yeah.
So they were great, man. You know, like I said, I'm grateful of my cousins. They were definitely a great influence on me.
Yeah. So let's go on. We'll come back to Edgar Street. I'm not gonna let that slide, but
Right. Go ahead, man.
Let's go through some of your memories of growing up in East Orange, and you know, as you we know, it was a primary Black neighborhood there, and you knew it well because you got it from a personal and a business side. And what do you think about, you know, kind of where urban America is today? You kind of seen a transition. What do you think about that?
Okay, so I would say that, I mean, again, I spoke about, you know, the connectivity of the city, and the neighborhoods and the role models that we had. That, you know, I look at, you know, modern era barbershop,
Right.
you know, Willie Koontz, you know, Jimmy Campbell, and those guys, you know. Then my uncle's store was right on the corner from them. So, and for me, it was like, you know, going into modern era, you know, they had that wall of fame.
Right. Oh yeah.
You know, they had that wall of fame with all the, you
fame.
know, all, you know, well, basically pretty much mostly athletes.
Yeah.
But, you know, and then
John Amos up there, and
John Amos,
Darryl White.
You know, Darryl White, Kevin Fletcher, you
Yeah.
know, Greg James, you know, I mean, all of those, but see, and more, you know, but all of those guys came into the store, into my uncle's store.
Right.
So my uncle kind of was like, he kind of like looked out for those guys, you know, especially the ones that needed help. He would do that for them, man. And so it was just to see that, and that kind of like, okay, man, looking at these guys as athletes, and, you know, at that time, you know, the late 60s, early 70s, East Orange was winning state championships and everything.
Right.
So it was like, okay, well, damn, you know, when I get there, I want to be able to experience, to do that as well, you know? Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, so that really kind of set the foundation for me. I mean, in regards to wanting to, you know, be, you know, but I mean, we were always playing, I mean, something, you know, if it was in football, baseball, or basketball, we were doing something. Right. But you know, and I got a chance to, I guess, when I was in junior high school, Ricky Ricks was, the gym teacher and basketball coach, but he was a quarterback for eastorange.
Right.
And then I knew, I had this admiration for, when going to the games, watching, eastorange quarterbacks.
Martin Stadium was, first of all, it was a relatively good stadium back then. It was a good game. It was a good place, and so it was very, culturally, there was things there. It wasn't just football. It was the hot dog stand. It was the it was an event. The football Saturday or Sunday football was an event. And I want to give you props because as we played football on Edgar Street, and I knew you were good back, but when you popped up at the start, I was like, wow, Len, you turned it out, man. I was like, Len is the starter back in the day, and you were ahead of your time, man, because you was like a young Randall Cunningham back in the day.
Man, well,
running, but you threw the football.
Yeah, something, man, and that's I played basketball too, but football was I would be walking around with a football in my hand.
Right.
People, everybody else would be like, okay, why don't you, put the football down and come play some basketball, and I'm gonna tell you the one person that, I don't know if you remember James Knox, Big Knox.
Yeah, Big Knox, yeah.
He was the one who really kind of said to me, like, look, man, you can play ball, man, but you can give the football a break a little bit. Come on, let's go play some basketball.
Right.
So, but I always, man, coming up playing, with the Panthers, but at that time, Cope was the quarterback. So, and I was tall, I was bigger then, I was tall. I was thin, but I was tall. Right. But I said, but once I got to high school, I forget our freshman year.
Cope was playing football in high school. He didn't play football, did he?
Yeah, he did. He was a punter.
He played football?
Yeah.
Mark Copeland?
Mark Copeland played football, yeah.
Because I remember CT being the quarterback.
CT was, but Copeland was the punter. He was our punter.
I know he was a punter, but did he play the other position?
No, pretty much no.
Yeah, well,
no. He pretty much. Amazing. He pretty much. That's because Cope was small, man. By the time we got into high school, his growth, he was short. So, but he could punch. Shit, he was a good athlete, great athlete, man. Right. But he was just small. So, he became the punter.
Gotcha.
But our freshman year, my high school, our freshman coach was three former quarterbacks for eastorange.
Right.
I had Greg White, Ralph Sturdivant, and Ricky Ricks.
Yeah. So you had good tutelage.
Yes, had great tutelage.
Wow.
And we were undefeated our freshman year.
Right. Yeah, we're good. You came through with Benson and the Osborne.
Benson, Pierce, Shaw, Tim Miller.
What skips that?
The Osbornes. Yeah. We had talent.
Lindsay Harris.
Lindsay Adams.
Some characters,
Rick Manigault, Stanley Harris.
Steve Shaw, Hawkins,
Shaw.
Let's talk about Kevin Hawkins. That's my boy. Let's talk about. What can you tell me about Kevin Hawkins?
Hey man, Hawkins.
Give me some dirt on Hawkins.
Let me tell you something. Hawk was a beast, man.
He's a beast.
I'm gonna tell you this. This is no lie.
Yep.
In playing varsity, I probably got sacked maybe 3 times the whole term.
Right.
But the hardest hit I ever got was in practice. Hawkins smacked. Because he played DN.
Right.
He played DN, man. Came off that corner one time, man. and the next thing I know, I'm looking up. Seeing, trying to get the start, get the cobwebs out, saw stars and everything, man. So, but Hawk was a great athlete, man. and I mean, just a tremendous football player, man. I mean,
Yeah, I love
and
me
good
some
and a great dude too, man. I mean, you know, but was a great. I mean, just man. I mean, shit, Hawk was a beast, man. He was 6'4", man. You
right.
know, I mean, we had some. I mean, that was
Y'all
one thing, man.
y'all
We had
stacked,
some.
you know. I
Huh?
love them guys, man. They were great role models. So I love some Hawk, love some Shaw, and
Yeah,
and like I said, just hearing these stories and talking about it from the other side, I think it lets people, I don't even think people realize what we had from just a brotherhood,
yeah, man. I mean, we had. I mean, it was just. I mean, everybody was. I mean, I don't care what you did, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care even if you didn't play any sports, the connection of the people, the friendships that we developed.
Right.
Over
We all got along. We all got along, and like,
yeah, man.
doing, I wasn't worried about what you was doing. 'Cause I was doing my own thing.
Right.
Y'all do that. I got this.
Right.
So, and I
Yeah.
think a lot of kids I think that's actually an issue now because things are so competitive that some kids is worried about getting on something that they might be not willing to make a friendship because they might feel that they're helping a competitor. I never felt that way. I like, look, come on and practice with me. Come on and play with me. Let's get better.
Right.
Travis Brown and I just sitting there just playing against each other till the lights went out. Just making each other better.
Right.
Going on to be an all-state player, Scott, did his thing.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah.
So we just helped each other.
But that was it too, man, because we always, was always, encouraging of each other.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's a big thing. It wasn't even if you, and I'll give you an example. I mean, me and Clarence, I was a junior, he was a senior, he was starting. But it wasn't like no thing like I had a thing because he started over me. It was more or less like an encouragement to him. Okay, like, look, man, if I see something, I'm gonna tell him.
Right.
When he got hurt, I went in. He would communicate that to me. So It was all about helping each other, man. And that was a great thing, man. Great thing.
Got it. So let's keep on high school for a little bit. So what were some of the activities that you did in high school? Were you only in football? Were you any other activities or parties?
Nah, man.
What'd you do? What was the parties like back then? And the girl, what was you into?
Oh man, wow, man.
Don't tell on yourself. But give us the clean.
No. Listen, I'm gonna just say this, man. We used to. The parties were always great.
Yeah.
The crazy part about it, though, is that, Fields used to come get us out of parties. So, that was the crazy thing. There would be like a party going on and Fields would tell us, do not go to, he would know about the party. He would know about it before we even, we think we're like being slick and saying, okay, look, man, we gonna go to the party and do this and that.
Right.
Fields would be like, okay, this would be a Friday night before the game, the game's on Saturday. Uh-huh. So we would have our team dinners, right? Like on Friday night, watch a little film, and then, at a certain time we were like, okay. So he would be like, okay. And he would literally do like bed checks on people, man.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So certain people that he felt he knew that was going to do some craziness, right? Or go or this. So, man, we would go. I'll never forget this one time, man. We was at this party at Raleigh Fieldhouse. Uh-huh. And the next thing you know, man, people was like, oh, Coach Fields is here. Right. We started scattering. Hey, man. And then, you know what? So the thing is that, okay, we would play the game on Saturday. Uh-huh. But, bro, when we got the practice on Monday, man, he would have us run, man, for days.
You running, yeah.
Right, But it was.
Let's talk about Fields a little detail, because I know you have a special relationship. I don't know if you want to share what type of man he was, because I think we're missing some of those role models and Black men, disciplinarians per se. What do you want to say about what did Coach Field do for young men? Not you per se. If you just want to keep a journal, what did he do for you?
Man, Coach Fields was, you know, I mean, you know, he was he was the best, man. I mean, he held us accountable. I mean, and I would say that, use that word. He just held us accountable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, he was there if you needed him, you know, but he was tough. I mean,
because I know for me, I was afraid of him. I was like, when he tried to, like, he was so
he was
stern.
tough.
His
Let me
exterior
tell
was
you
so stern that I didn't seem like it was somebody that you relate to. But I hear all these different stories that he was very relatable.
He was definitely relatable, man, but he was tough. I mean, look, I'm gonna just say this. Between those lines on the football field,
yeah,
he was a different person. But when he came off the field, he was off the field, he was a caring individual, man. He cared about us, man.
Right.
I mean, we had I'm gonna be honest with you, man. Back then, we had the best equipment, the nicest uniforms.
You did have nice.
We got new. I mean, and if you was a starter, you got new stuff every week for the game. New cleats, I mean, he took care of us.
Right.
I mean, really took care of us. And then also too, man, it was. I mean, he was heavily engaged with people that, you know, with some of the kids that had it a little bit harder than the rest of us. He was heavily engaged in helping them and helping their families, man.
Right.
You know, so I mean, he was. I mean, he's a tremendous guy, man. I mean, I've always had the utmost respect for him. I mean, he taught me a lot of lessons, man. You know, and about what team really means. You know, teamwork. You know, being a part of something that's you know, and that's, I would attest that today because of the relationship I have with my teammates.
Right.
You know, so being able, and we still are connected today. Yeah. You know, we're still connected to him today.
Right. That's beautiful.
You know? Yeah.
Let's jump into some of this business stuff, because you have this great business background. We gotta jump on that. So, you know, you had this long career in supplier diversity. So just in general, you know, what is the role of diversity in corporate America? You know, why is it important? And what's your view on, you know, how in the Black community, let's take it to the other side, that we may not be taking advantage of it?
Well, okay. Well, first I would say that, you know, you spoke about the Black Lives Matter movement and what that means today, and then how supplier diversity fits into that. I think that because of Black Lives Matter and everything that happened with, you know, the George Floyd, Breonna Taylor situation, that it has rebooted.
That's true.
Okay. And so now you have, look, man, I mean, most major corporations, no matter what, it's about their consumers. So, and the Black community, you know, yeah, we're about 13% of the population, but we spend more money than anybody.
Right.
So the thing is that you want to make sure you don't want to be on the wrong side at this time. And so I think that's where but I think that with this, there is a bigger opportunity for Black-owned businesses, minority businesses, women-owned businesses, all to this is the time for them to capitalize on the opportunity that's going to be presented in front of them, because these corporations are going to open the door. Now, how much they open it will remain to be seen.
Right.
But they are going to be opening the door and looking for people that can serve those needs that they have.
Right.
And I think that this is a great opportunity right now for those companies to be able to do that. And also because not just because the corporations are pushing it, it's because, you know, the federal government is pushing it too. you know, because of, you know, just all of the things that have taken place. And, you know, and again, then too, you know, with this whole COVID piece, you know, the effect that that's had on, you know, our community and everything else. I just think that, you know, there are those opportunities, you know, in that arena too is going to open up more as well. I think that in our community, I just think that people, you know, they need to, if you have a dream, I'm gonna say that, because if you have a dream and you have something that you want to do, go for it.
Right.
There's no more better opportunity than to be able to go for it now. I mean, because, and especially I would say our young folks, they have more. I would say in as far as resources in regards to being able through technology and everything else to be able to seize some opportunities for themselves. But I also say that you got to be in the right place at the right time, and have some people around you that's going to help support you through whatever you're trying to accomplish and get to.
So let's drill down at it on two sides for the audience here. So, you know, there is the corporate side. And so it's interesting that you use I'm keen on this word you use, reboot.
Right.
And so clearly that means that there's a before and after.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like corporate America before, now corporate America after. I guess it has to go through a transformation.
Yeah.
Of being more open, being more diverse. And I actually was talking about this, and I actually talked with a client after this about the meaning of diversity. And, you know, he was a little dismayed that diversity before corporate America meant, you know, when you said minority, it meant Indian, it meant Chinese, Black was in there, but in some ways, Black got commingled, and, you know, and also got commingled with, you know, some late LGBT initiatives. And so America, they didn't emphasize so much the Black initiative. Let's call it the Black initiative or Black diversity was sacrificed for some of these other groups. And I think now rebooting the whole Black community may take a little bit more forefront, because clearly, as mentioned, we're consumers. It's clearly been some neglect on the side of, you know, the investment in the community. Let's not lay the blame in corporate America, but there's clearly been a disinvestment in the Black community. So is that something that we can look for, that maybe these other issues, not to take a back burner, but the Black
Well, I don't know if they'll take a back burner, but I think that what will be looked at is that, you know, where there might have been some skepticism on giving a Black business an opportunity, maybe that skepticism is taken away. Because, and I'm just saying from my own experience, that, you know, they look at us differently. I don't care how good you might be, they look at us differently. So maybe that skepticism will change, and hopefully it will. I'm hopeful that it will, because again, like I said, the fight it's been a long fight, and you got to figure. I've only been in it 20 some years. It was going on before that,
right?
You know, and I think that too. You know, I have to say that, you know, like within our communities, you know, you're starting to see the redevelopment in our communities.
You are
now, you know, whether we have our hands in it or not is one thing, you know, but you're seeing the reinvestment in our communities. And I would say, you know, I can speak for where I'm at. Here in Atlanta, I mean, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
A lot of young, I'm talking young African American brothers and sisters that are doing their thing,
right?
And you know, and building up, you know, there's certain communities throughout the city. So, I mean, and I know in East Orange is doing some stuff.
On the move.
Ted is doing a great job as the mayor, man. I mean, but again, I mean, it's time. It's time.
Right.
I mean, you got to think, man. I mean, I mean, just speaking of East Orange, because that's where we grew up, you got to think, man, from the 80s through it's now, okay, it's 2021. I mean, you know, through the whole the 80s and 90s where the, you know, the urban community, our community basically suffered because, you know, because of, you know, the epidemic, you know, the crack epidemic and that bringing all of that, not just East Orange, but every urban community suffered from that, you know. I mean, it took, and then also it took away, you know, you want to talk about education, you know, the Reagan administration came in and wiped out all the programs that basically helped us get to where we were.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No manpower, no Head Start, none of those things, they're gone.
No, I mean, the parks department, all that funding and everything that we took, I mean, we took it for granted.
Right.
I mean, because that's all we knew.
Mm-hmm.
But man, I mean, when you strip that, then where they going?
Right.
What are they going to do?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have anything, and not just that, but you had educational programs that were tied to that.
Right.
And, you know, and to be able to support that. And that helps drive, you know, self-esteem and everything else.
Oh, it does. Yeah. You know, one thing we jumped up, we have to come back to is your experience at William Patterson. You know,
okay.
You know, I didn't realize it, but even in those time periods, Wayne was a predominantly white area, and you know, you played football there, correct, with William Patterson?
No, actually, so my first year I went to Morgan. My first year, I went to Morgan State my first year, and I came back and I, you know, played football for 1 year at William Patterson, and then I had to get a job.
Okay.
I had to, you know, I had to work at that time. So I was a commuter. I was a commuter student.
All right.
So huh?
What was your interface with the faculty there? I'm trying to get into what a
you know
young
what I would say, you know what, and see, the thing is that you know, you can, I would say that you had some that were sincere in helping you and wanted to see you be successful or get through what you need to get through. But then you had some that, you know, that overt racism was there.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, so, I mean, you could see it, you could feel it. And like you said, Wayne was at that time talking about late 70s, early 80s.
Right. Predominantly white
you know, huh?
Predominantly white institution.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know, I mean,
you know, where I'm going with this is, you know, the other side of supply side management is preparedness. So, you know, we keep hearing about this, you know, systemic racism of, you know, it really is at the high, it really is at the educational system that and it might be because of learning styles, it might be because of, you know, different. In fact, I was talking about this with Kefeli that, you know, you have certain teachers that want to come to minority communities and help, but they sit in front of an audience that they really know nothing about. And they have these stereotypes in their heads that, you know, that, wow, this guy comes from this background. And you know, as you go through a subject, eventually you're going to struggle, else you're not learning. You're not learning the subject, or if something's too easy, what's the point of taking the class? You know?
Right.
So you get into, now we're talking about math, we're talking about science, we're talking about medicine. You're going to have some case where you're going to need some help in the learning process, and someone sees you as a negative image of you. How do we get over this stigma that we can't do it?
Well, I mean, I would say that a lot of that comes from, I mean, they're not, I mean, there's, you know, people are stuck in where they are, man. I mean, and that's why we are where we are today.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look, I mean, I live in a white community.
Uh-huh.
I mean, my youngest son grew up in this community.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but the thing is that I also say this too. When you talk about the differences of education, it talks about money. I mean, you got to look at that part of it versus a suburban school versus an urban school, and what they get. Not to say that they don't have the teachers. They have the teachers. They have great teachers. But if you're not getting the same type of funding to be able to expose them to more things, or more things that's going to help them advance, that makes a difference. So, their hands are tied, in regards to what they can do and how they can accomplish that, versus going to a suburban school where the funding is free, the money's rolling. Whatever they need, whatever these students need, we got. They get it. Or they need to go somewhere, or they want to go on a trip here, or be exposed to, certain things. They're exposed to them.
Right.
And that's, to me, is the biggest issue to me. I mean, as far as education is concerned, is being the exposure and the dollars that are the money and it's being spent wisely to help educate our kids and expose them. Because you know what, if a kid is exposed to more things that are happening out here in the world today, that's going to give them the confidence to say, you know what, I can do this, or I can be able. There's nothing in their way.
Right. That's a good point. Yeah, and because I think I've been around a lot of different type of management type professors that talk about this performance gap, and a lot of times this the delineation is also in terms of always a racial delineation of the gap.
Right.
And and then it's also educational. Your educational performance that whether like a lot of things, if you just got a bachelor's, if you just got a master's, you have a PhD, all those things are going to have an impact on your ability to perform. But like a lot of you said, is that if we can get more people through the pipeline with more exposure to better quality and more education, then eventually that gap, it should close, regardless of the.
Right. You know what? And I also think too, I mean, and I think it's also too, the education part of it is you definitely need that, but you also got to have, what's going on out here in the street. I mean, you really do. You have to have that savvy, and then also being able to, when I say be exposed, you got to be able to be exposed to people that are not like you. Okay. And be, and so you're able that that you can be comfortable and you're not fearful of those people. Right. I think that, basically one of the things that when I was with UPS and part of the Urban League, I was a part of what they had a program. It's called the Executive Exchange Program. And we used to go to HBCUs for 3 days, out of the year. We pick an HBCU that we wanted to go to, and we would sit down and talk to the business school students and kind of give them an education about what it's like working in corporate America, what you need to be prepared for. That's what the avenue that you wanted to go into. Mm-hmm. And we would go to different schools, Howard, Tennessee State, Morgan, name Maine, Payne University, just a number of schools that we could do that, every year. Mm-hmm. And, I thought it was, a great opportunity because they don't know. I mean, every kid is not going to get an internship, you know what I mean?
Right.
But every kid wants that opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, that's interesting, yeah. Let's shift on to Black Lives Matter specifically and more directly. So, it's been compared to the civil rights movement as being more diverse. You have more white young kids participating. What's your thoughts about Black Lives Matter in terms of the movement itself, police brutality, and what would you like to see going forward from it?
I think it's I'm going to be honest with you. To see the amount of support that Black Lives Matter got from other communities was surprising to me. I just, it was great to see, but it was surprising. And I think it's a great thing, Kenny. I think that the younger folks today have more friends. I'm going to say more white friends, have the more white kids have Black friends than we had. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, technology, the internet can make that happen. You got the world at your fingertips. So
Right. So, but again, a lot of them were exposed to our culture now,
Yeah.
more so now than ever. So
The
they
hip hop
through a different, huh?
effect. The hip hop effect.
Yeah, exactly. See, so
Yeah.
they're looking through a different lens than maybe their parents were looking
That's interesting. Yeah. That's one take on it, you know.
through. Yeah. So I mean, and again too, I think that what basically when you visualize and you're able to see something that was so horrific as George Floyd, with the knee on his neck and calling for his mama, that has, I don't care. I mean, unless you have no feeling or you have no
Empathy.
yeah. I mean, if you can't feel that, I mean, something's wrong.
Right.
So, and I think that not just touched us as Black folks, but it touched that community as well and other communities as well. Because you know what? They probably said, you know what? Some of them could say, that could be me.
That could have been me. Yeah. That could be me. Everybody said that.
So I mean, so that's, I think, the support and the movement of BLM. I mean, I think that it's a good thing at a great time. I think it was needed, and with all the rhetoric and all this stuff that has been going on with this past administration, and the negativity and the overt racism of what was going on. I think it was time, and I think a lot of people have know it's time. And I mean, and I mean, I'm not saying I hate to say it, but it's the truth that this election proved that.
Yeah. Well, it was pivotal.
change.
It was pivotal, and I think it's glad that two things happened in my lifetime. I'm glad to actually see, and one is the election of President Obama.
Right.
I think being a Black man and seeing that had a profound impact. Another thing was the Million Man March. The seeing that
my God, yes.
so many
That was
in this lifetime, to be able to see that many brothers come together in a peaceful way and demonstrate our collectiveness.
Well, let me say that that was definitely, those two things were the two profound things in my life.
Right.
The Million Man March was definitely profound.
Right. So, and I think all these things are on like a continuum that we don't realize the importance of them. And when you connect the dots, you start saying, well, what's next? And the next was this Black Lives Matters movement. There's almost like a fulcrum movement.
Yeah, but you know what? Because it was time for a transition. And I mean, it's an interesting dynamic that,
Exactly.
I said there was an interesting dynamic that this year, all the icons in civil rights passed away this year, which is, I mean, and then the message of John Lewis standing on that Black Lives Matter painted thing on the street in DC before he died, man, that spoke volumes, man. Yeah. I mean, so, I mean, but you had C.G. Vivian, you had Joe Lowry, you had John Lewis, you had all of these icons that were icons in the civil rights movement, that were Martin soldiers that died this year. Well, died in the first 6 months of this stuff. Right. I mean, which it was, and then this happened. I mean, so
it's like a passing of the baton, almost, kind of thing.
Huh?
Like a passing of the baton, almost figuratively.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is really image-wise.
You have these young advocates. You have these young advocates that are, hey man, their voice, they're putting their voice out there, and it's amazing. I mean, it's a great thing. And for me, I tell my two sons, this is y'all's time.
Right.
This is your time. This is their era. I mean, I said, all of this is for you and your kids.
Right. Well,
so.
this is on another serious topic. Then I'm going to take it down a notch to have some fun with you. So,
Okay. All right.
it's such a great mind. I got to keep picking here in terms of your thought. So, kind of parallel to this, this whole continuing is reparations. And I was hitting on the folks of, I always struggle with this because I've only seen it taken seriously in two countries. One is Canada, where the
Aboriginal
Aboriginal Indians in Canada. If you ever go to Canada, if you go to like Vancouver, you go in the airport, the first thing you see is all this Indian art. They got their own schools, they got their own museums, they get a piece of casino revenue. So essentially, their reparation, they got a percentage of the GDP. It wasn't a small amount. And the second place is Australia. Now, I know some people might say South Africa, but South Africa is kind of a whole different model. It might be parallel to us, but it's not really a reparation. That's kind of like the end of apartheid is really not a reparation.
No, that's not reparation because they ain't give them shit. I mean,
yeah, they ain't really give them nothing. They ain't really give them nothing. You still go over there.
They ain't give them nothing. They didn't give them anything.
They still got huts.
Right.
They still don't have electricity, so
right.
You get my point. So what can we look to in terms of actual formal discussion of reparations become a serious discussion with actual policy or something on the table that America can consider? You be a good person to talk about that. Is it something we should just let it go, or do we need to really formulate a discussion?
No, man. We can talk about it because I just think that it's something that should be done. I do. I really do. I mean, look, our people have suffered, and built this country for 400 years, man, and never got any, a lot of people pulled up their bootstraps and have become successful. I'm not saying that, but there's a lot that comes with how this country was built and how and still today, how that of tearing up of the Black family and separating the Black family, and how that the effects of that has today, it's still today, going on today. And I think this country owes us something. Now, what that might be or how they go about doing that, I don't know how you do it, but I think that there's something that should be done about it. And I mean, hey, look, you put the Chinese in those internment camps, and you gave the Japanese in those internment camps, and you gave them something.
Reparations, right?
You gave them something. So here, and that was that was only for maybe like 7 years. I'm talking about 400 years.
Right.
And you still haven't done, America hasn't done what it should do, man. And up until, and again too, I just think a lot of it is as long as the behavior doesn't change, then I don't see it happening.
Right.
But I'm always hopeful that at some point, I hope in my lifetime that
I think that would be maybe a next pivotal event, Million Man March, President Obama, Black Lives Matter, reparations. That would be something.
And look, Kamala Harris, Vice President.
Yeah, Kamala. So maybe the Biden administration will start moving on that forefront. We'll see something. So
it's going to take. You know what, man? It's going to take time, and you're still going to have those naysayers. You're still going to have them, fighting. But you know what? You got to stand. You got to stand for something.
Right.
And if you don't stand for something, then you know what? The same stuff that's happening will continue to happen. And it's a detriment to us all. Because guess what? It affects them too.
It does. That's the other side of this. I'm trying to pitch is that, Black Lives Matter really is something that actually helps the white community more because it gets exposure to the children. It gets the racist monkey off their back, and essentially,
Yeah, I mean, here's an opportunity. It's an opportunity
them
for
to
you to,
expand their culture.
right, and really try to understand our culture.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That, I mean, because you know what? We've always adapted.
Right.
We've always had to adapt.
Right.
You know, I mean, we've adapted.
Absolutely.
You know, we're one way with our friends, but when we go to, hey, look, when you walk through that door at work, you're a whole different person.
Oh,
I mean, in some regards, but
point. Yeah.
I mean,
I know.
But the thing is that you got to stand for something.
Right.
And I would say for myself, you know, being a strong diversity, you know, advocate that I've been,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I would say my fight in UPS wasn't easy.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
You know, I mean, but I stood on my principles of who I was. Because my thing was, would you gonna fire me because I'm black? I mean, but I was at that level at that time that I could say things, or I could go to people and say things.
Right.
And far too often, Kenny, and I'm gonna say this, and I hope that, you know, that this is an opportunity for us as Black women and Black men, that we are in these positions of power, that we use that power to be able to be who we are and not be somebody else.
Oh, absolutely. You got to live in your own skin. I mean, it's not worth it if you're not comfortable in your own skin.
Right, and be supportive and bring up, you know, stand, you know, you standing on somebody's shoulders, stand on somebody else's. Have somebody stand on yours.
I agree with that. Yeah.
You know,
so we you know, we kind of hit on a lot of seriousness. I got to take it down a notch because, you know, folks can only take so much, you know, meats and potatoes. So
right.
So let's get back to some. You're a sports enthusiast, and you know, you came to Essex County, and I'm gonna open it up to you. I'm gonna give you a live dunk here because I want you to think about 5 athletes.
That was from Essex County?
It could be. Well, let's keep it Jersey. Let's keep it North Jersey because we can't go down to Atlanta and all that kind of stuff.
No. I know. Okay.
Who are the best 5 athletes you've seen in your lifetime in general, any sport? Keep it at the, you know, college and high school level, at their college, high school level and below.
College, high school. Oh my God.
That's a big.
Okay.
There's some big. I know there's one I would include, but I'm not gonna buy. You go first.
Okay, so all right, so I'm gonna just say one in my class.
Yep.
You know, I would say Shaw was probably
I'll give you that.
You know,
he was a beast. Shaw was a beast.
He was a beast. Shaw was a beast.
Yeah.
I would say also, man.
So I'm gonna bail you out here. I'm gonna go.
I would say, you know what? This is what I'm gonna say. Okay. All right. You know, for me, I mean, there was, you know, obviously there was a tremendous amount of great basketball players that came out of high school, and you was one of them. You know? So I'm gonna say this, but this person, I always kind of like, I just marveled at his ability.
Okay.
And that was Clay.
Clay Eugene. There you go. All right.
Okay. I mean, I just marvel. He just did it so effortless, man.
Right.
And then he led the nation in scoring at a junior college.
Right. It's just mind-boggling what he did, right?
Yeah, mind-boggling, man.
You know. To this day, I still don't know how he scored on Edgar Jones.
Huh?
I don't know how he scored on Edgar Jones. Clear.
Yeah, I mean, those were some battles, man.
But he's finger rolling on Edgar Jones.
Left-handed finger rolls, right? Oh my God. Okay, so let me see who else. This person didn't play at East Orange, but he was Willie Wilson was a tremendous athlete.
Oh yeah, wasn't he a baseball player too?
Yes, football, baseball, basketball player. Yeah. He went to Summit.
Yes, Willie Wood. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, he was incredible.
Yeah, I mean, so, and we played against him our senior year, and that we lost to them in the playoffs,
Wow.
it's still against Summit, man. So
That's
he
a
was a good,
throwback name. Yeah, I don't think people would think of that name, but he was incredible.
yeah, man, um, let me see who else,
Now, I'm gonna throw a neighborhood name in after because he didn't really play, but Big Knox. Tell me about.
Oh my God, man. Oh, see, okay. All right.
Where's he
He
fit in?
was he was probably,
incredible.
let me say this. Knox was probably the greatest athlete that didn't play high school sports.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, by hands down, bar none,
Yeah.
the greatest athlete that, I mean, he went on, he did play college basketball. He played at Bloomfield.
I know. But I'm trying to, if he didn't play the East Orange, somebody would have had to sit. Who would have sat? Because the back would have been Shaw and Knox.
I don't know, man, because I mean, Knox was a beast. He was a beast, man. I mean,
Shaw wasn't going to sit.
No. You know what? But see, it was fun. It's funny that you brought it. It's funny.
That might have played into Knox's thinking. He might know he couldn't play.
It's funny that you brought his name up because I remember Coach Fields going to him and asking him to come out and play football.
Wow.
And Knox was like, Coach Fields, look, I thank you for the offer, but nah, that's okay. I'm not taking that beat.
Yeah.
And listen, this and a lot of people don't know this, but he was playing, and while he was in high school, he was playing semi-pro fast pitch base softball.
What? Oh, that's right.
Yes.
He was good. Yes, he was really good. Yes.
I mean, so, hey man, I'm telling you, he was I mean, he was a Princeton Street legend.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, we had definitely we had some athletes on that street. Some of them didn't even play either, man. I mean, but
Yeah, I know. Yeah. That was my street because I used to hang out with the Peterson boys.
But Tony and Tony Peterson, and Paul Peterson, See, their brother Billy was, he came out with your brothers,
He was the
in 74.
Boys,
Yeah. So
I used to hang out at Princeton Street. That was my street, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, we had the brick wall, man. We had the brick wall.
Peterson?
Huh?
Was Calvin the Peterson guy? Calvin Powell?
He was on Princeton Street too, yeah.
Yeah, so I thought Calvin.
Yeah, Calvin, Knox, the Knoxes. You had the Myricks. I don't know if you knew the Myricks. Jimmy Myricks. He was younger than us. He was probably younger than you too.
I didn't know Jimmy, no.
Alan Carter.
Alan Carter go.
Yeah,
That's a name there. Big Al with the afro back there.
Right. Yeah, man. And then we had the brick wall, so that separated between Halsted and Princeton Street.
Yeah.
And so we got, the cast from Halsted Street, Joey Jordan and them, Joey and Travis, Joey and Travis, and Anthony, so I mean, it was an interesting dynamic, man.
That's just 2 streets, Clifford and Princeton, right there. We went through a lot of names that people don't realize how that was Joe George, Trav Brown, right there on Clifford.
Right. Yeah, man. Yeah. So then you had Curtis.
I was told that Queen Latifah lived right down the street on Halsted Street. Was that true?
She lived right in the building that the barbershop Modern Era was in.
Oh, did she?
She lived in the apartments was in the back of that building. They lived in those upstairs in those apartments.
Oh, so you knew her. I didn't know her back then.
Yeah. I mean, so she was a young girl, man, but it was that. Yeah, man. It's interesting. I mean, one thing I can say, man, Kenny, you put this up too, man. We just had, a lot of talented.
Yeah, it's a lot of talent.
Smart. smart people come from.
Calvin did a book of poems. I thought you
Yeah, man.
Folks might want to look up Reverend Calvin Powell's poems.
Yeah.
Interesting, But let's get back to the question. So you gave me 3. Give me 2 more. Give me 2 more names.
I'll give you 2 more names. Okay.
Give me a basketball name. No, well, you gave me a basketball. You gave me
Daryl Harris.
Daryl Harris was, that's another name.
Daryl Harris
was
All-State baseball player.
Baseball.
Great
guy.
Huh?
He's a great guy. Great role model.
Great guy. Oh yeah, man. Daryl Harris. There's so many.
Now, did you play baseball at Washington Park?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Yep. I'm telling you, no, seriously. When I was, so your brothers were 2 years ahead of me, 3 years ahead of me.
You must have been on it with them. The Jeffries.
I did. I started playing with them.
You must play with the Jeffries, my brothers.
Yeah, Jeffries, your brother, Daryl, all of them.
Ralph Jacobs, Copeland.
Ralph, all of them. Yes. Yep. And I was the youngest. I was the young dude. And that's, and even like when I was a freshman in high school, I played in the church league.
Oh yeah, everybody played church league. Yeah. Uh-huh.
So, but I was I was only freshman on our squad.
Okay. All right.
And I played for St. Matthews. So I was the only one on our squad, freshman on our squad. We had all the old heads.
Yeah, one more name. I'm holding you to the fire.
One more name. Okay. Greg James.
Okay. That's the easy one. That's the easy one,
Easy. Yeah, because just he was talked about so much, when I was growing up, and my uncle talked about him. See, my uncle played basketball for Eastorange High School too. So that was back in 59.
59. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of history there. Folks can identify with that. You went from Greg James, to Clee, Willie Wilson, and Steve Shaw, Knox.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I hope folks appreciate those names. That's kind of taking some folks back to some good memories,
Yeah.
We're coming up on an hour, man. So we had a great talk here. You believe it or not.
Hey, man. Hey, first and foremost, I want to say thank you for giving me this opportunity, bro. It's been great. It's been great talking to you.
Yeah, but I want to let you know that you're now up on the Daniels Foundation Wall of Excellence. That's what. So when I get some money, I'm gonna mail out some plaques. On the wall.
Hey man, listen. No, you don't have to do any of that, man. This is a great forum, Kenny. For you to put together and give people opportunity to, to talk about their experiences and share. Because it's about sharing. And hopefully, someone can get something out of it. Some young kids.
We're gonna be surprised what comes out of this. We're gonna do a little collage later to put them all together. Because the footage is getting up there and people are interested in using it, so I'm surprised. But so we got one more question. I just kind of you get to take us out. So what are some of your hopes and dreams going forward for the year 2021 and beyond? What are you looking for?
My hopes are that we can come together as a people more so, and trust in each other. And help and be helpful, man. Right. Be helpful and try to help those that are in need, and give something. Continue to give, give back, man, and try to do something. I saw your piece with Joel, and I think that the golf tournament thing is an excellent idea.
I appreciate that. Yeah, you might have to follow up on that. Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent idea, man. to get us out, get everybody out, and talk a little trash, but also support a good, your foundation, support a good cause, and try to come up with something that we can do and bring back to Eastorange or whatever community you want to bring it to. Right. So I think that's a great idea.
Okay, I'm gonna follow up with Joel. That's a great idea. See if we can get even if it starts small, it might grow every year. That'd be great.
Yeah, man. It doesn't have to be start out as a bang. It could be start small and
Right.
some of us can contribute some dollars, and
Right.
and
Make that happen. So it's kind of cold playing golf in November in East Orange, though.
no, we need to do it from maybe from June through, or maybe May through. May might be okay. But nah, yeah. I ain't trying to play in the cold, bro.
Yeah, I hear you. Because people come home for homecoming, though. They might come back.
Oh yeah, true. That's true. That's very true. I mean, but you know what, man? I mean, we did it in the summertime when they did the thing for Mac and stuff like that. Yeah, people that came back, man. I mean, so
yeah, you never know.
You never know.
Yeah. I need to talk to the
word of mouth. Word of mouth.
Chief Captains CT and Clyde, they run the show.
Yeah, that's they're those, they put they're the, especially CT, he's the he's definitely the master MC.
Right. So I gotta
of every event.
He's
the greatest organizer.
Right. So if I get the approval, if I get their approval, then we might be able to put something together. We got to run through the structure.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Well, then I appreciate you, man. Thank you, man. I really appreciate you and your supporting foundation. It's been a lot of fun. Love you, brother, man. You're like a brother to me from Bay.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. No, thank you, man.
I've always hit you with some tough questions when I'm going through my stuff, so I really appreciate you.
Oh, man, man. It's, like I said, man, it's about sharing, and I hope that, like I said, somebody can get something from it.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you the opportunity, bro. Let's talk soon.
I'll be throwing this up on YouTube and the Facebook page in a couple of minutes, so you'll be able to check it out. And I'm sure it's a great interview, but I appreciate you, man. Thank you very much.
All right, Kenny. Talk to you later.
Take care. Yeah. Bye.